Hey guys, I'm Hop. Thank you for tuning in to tfbtv. I'm out at the range today with the newest variant of the SIG M400 rifle. This is the new X-Series SDI. You're probably asking, hey Hop, that's the worst name for a gun I've ever heard. And while that's really more of a statement than a question, you do bring up a good point. What the hell is an M400 X-Series SDI? Clearly this is not supposed to be a Tread series rifle. It's an X-Series rifle, I guess similar to the 365X Macro. X-Series must mean something to somebody at SIG. It means nothing to me. SDI, though, I'm pretty sure stands for Spear Direct Impingement, because this integrates some of the new features of the Spear LT rifle into the M400 platform, which is otherwise still pretty much a basic AR. Let's take a closer look at it, and I'll walk you through the gun. The X-Series SDI is getting pretty far away from what we might consider to be a typical mil-spec style AR. Starting with the receiver set, the lower is fully ambidextrous now. It's got the usual SIG ambidextrous safety with the nice truncated lever that doesn't get in the way of your firing hand finger if you're a right-handed person. If you're a lefty, just suck it up. It's also got the ambidextrous magazine release, which is nicely warded on the offside, so you're not going to accidentally drop the magazine if you bump this against your gear or your belt or anything like that. We also have the addition of the right side bolt catch and bolt drop lever. This is a feature inherited from the Spear LT. This allows you to lock the bolt and drop the bolt from the right side of the gun. I didn't really like that feature when I first tried it, and now that I've used it on a variety of different rifles, I'm really starting to enjoy it quite a lot more. This rifle also has a nicer trigger than all of the Tread series rifles. This one is the SIG Matchlight Duo. It's a 2-stage trigger, and it is just painfully shy of being good enough for you to just leave in there forever. If you're a trigger snob, you're still going to want to replace this thing, but if you don't really care, then hey, it's better than mil-spec. You might as well just leave it in there. Moving on to the upper receiver, there are a couple of minor things that you may not notice right away. One of them is the repositioned forward assist. This is pretty similar to the BCM Mark II uppers. I don't know if BCM invented it or not, but the forward assist is actually positioned slightly forwards. On a mil-spec AR upper receiver, the forward assist would be about even with the castle nut and the end plate. In this, it's a little bit farther forward, and that means that there's a little bit less interference when you're going for the charging handle. This thing also has a pretty interesting feature, which is steel reinforced pegs in the upper receiver, which is where the latches of the charging handle interface with. I don't know if you've ever had an AR upper get to a really high round count with a lot of aggressive manipulations. You'll start to notice some wear where the charging handle latches in. Having the steel reinforcements in there probably means this upper will last a lot longer than just a regular mil-spec style one. And of course, we still got an ejection port door and a brass deflector, all the features you like to see. The rest of this rifle is pretty standard stuff for the AR market. We've got a 16-inch barrel with a mid-length gas system, which is pretty much the missionary position of AR design at this point. The handguard, however, is a significant improvement over the old handguards on the M400 Tread series. We now have a full-length top rail, which is definitely a desired feature if you ever think you're going to mount anything like switches for lights or night vision accessories or anything like that. It's just a feature that you might as well have. Really no reason not to. The gas block is SIG's usual low-profile micro-style gas block. These things are not adjustable, but they are pinned to the barrel, which is nice for longevity. If you do want to run this thing suppressed, then you still have the option to tune the gun at the back with spring weights and buffer weights. This just has a regular carbine spring and a regular 3-ounce carbine buffer, so there's plenty of opportunity to buffer that up or add a stiffer spring if you want to run this thing suppressed and you don't like the aggressive ejection pattern. The bolt carrier group is still very much mil-spec. It's not a sporter style carrier, and the bolt is made out of Carpenter 158, which is the mil-spec material that everybody likes. The barrel is 4150 steel, and it is button rifled, not cold hammer forged. Pretty much to be expected, particularly at this price point. The barrel profile is thinner than a government profile barrel. It's certainly not a pencil barrel, still has a normal 750 gas block, but it is a little bit of a lighter weight, sort of a tapered profile barrel. And like almost all SIG rifles these days, the end of the barrel is tapered where it goes down into the threads. So this is threaded 1/2x28, standard for a 5.56 caliber gun. But there is actually a little thread adapter collar on there that essentially takes up that taper space, so you can attach normal muzzle devices to it. This is a kind of an oddly deprecated system because SIG suppressors don't even direct thread onto tapered barrels anymore, but whatever, that's the way that they make their barrels, and it includes the collar because their muzzle device that's included with this gun is not a taper attached muzzle device. Kind of strange. This is, I guess, where we can get into the pedantry about muzzle brakes versus compensators. Usually it doesn't really matter. There's essentially no distinction between muzzle brakes and compensators anymore. Almost all of them brake and compensate at the same time. This one very much does not do that, though. This is kind of similar to like a Surefire closed-tine war comp. This is absolutely a compensator, not a brake. This muzzle device doesn't seem to provide much of a braking effect, but it has an extremely overdriven compensation effect. It actually pushes the muzzle of the rifle down under recoil. So, not really a fan of this muzzle device. I think it's overly aggressive, and unless your shooting fundamentals are really poor, you probably won't notice the benefit of this. It's actually going to make you shoot worse. So, you probably are going to want to take that thing off and throw something else on there. Let's talk about accuracy and reliability. This thing is at probably about or just a little over 1,000 rounds. I used it in a couple of two-gun competitions, as well as just shot it a whole bunch regularly. Luke C., TFB writer, also got his hands on an M400 X-Series SDI. His has been very much the same. We shot these things for groups. We were able to get some pretty impressive groups using Luke's hand loads as well as some ADI 69 grain Sierra Match King. We were able to get at or slightly under 1 MOA. 5-shot groups. However, I think this barrel profile is a little bit on the thin side, so after we shot maybe 2 or 3 groups back to back, they would start to widen considerably. That is something to consider. I don't know if you really think that this is supposed to be some sort of a sharpshooter's rifle, but that thin barrel profile does seem to cause the groups to spread a little bit. When SIG sent me this rifle to review, it came with a Tango MSR 1-10 scope already mounted on it. After one trip to the range, I took it off and replaced it with the Romeo 4 XT Pro Red Dot, something I've been trying to get some trigger time behind so I can review it for my own channel. The Tango MSR 1-10 is an appallingly bad scope. The 1-6 version is actually pretty good. It's priced about on par with a Vortex Strike Eagle, and it has similar glass quality, decently usable reticle. You know, pretty good, affordable entry-level scope. The advantage of the Tango MSR is that it comes with a mount, and it's actually a pretty good mount. The 1-10 version of the Tango MSR, though, is just horrific, which kind of makes sense. I mean, I think you can get those things for a street price of about $600. Vortex is struggling to even make a good 1-10 and charging $3,000 for it. The 1-10 zoom ratio is kind of the holy grail of optics. It really makes sense that SIG could not pull it off for under $600 with an included mount. The image quality degraded so much past the 6x setting that it was essentially useless. There's just no way you could get the image into focus. It's really quite a terrible scope. Oh well, Luke stuck with the MSR 1-10 on his rifle, even ran it in competition. I guess he just likes to suffer.
So look at, crank the scope up to 10 and look at something far away.
Oh, it's fucking blurry as shit.
Yeah.
Why is it all blurry?
Yeah, I don't know.
And there's like really bad...
Spin the diopter all the way in, and it gets a little better.
Well, yeah, that's actually a lot better, but it's still a little blurry. What the fuck? And there's a lot of chromatic aberration too.
Yeah.
Like if you dial it all the way up and look at that snow over there, the snow is real, like, oh, beautiful green edges. I didn't know snow was so pretty.
That's that Pink Floyd snow I heard about.
So that's the M400 X-Series SDI. Really the worst thing I could say about this rifle is that there are 3 fonts on the side. It says X, it says SIG-Sauer, it says M400, and it says SDI. Some of them are serif fonts, some of them are not. It really looks awful. I think if they just used Comic Sans, it would have been better. Once you spray paint it, it's not going to be a big deal. As far as value goes, I'm seeing these things sell for a street price of around $1,200 to $1,300, which seems about right. If you're going to spend that much money on an AR, you could prioritize something like barrel steel and material, get something with a cold hammer forged barrel if you prefer, but you probably would not get these same ambidextrous modernized controls and receiver updates, so it kind of depends on what is more important to you personally. I think that the SIG ambidextrous lower, particularly with the addition of this little lever here, is the best ambidextrous AR lower currently on the market. I know, I'm sure that's a very controversial statement, but I'm going to make it anyway. Alright, thank you guys for watching. TFB TV is supported by our sponsors Ventura Munitions and Top Gun Supply. We're also supported directly by our viewers like you via Subscribestar and Utreon. If you join up, you'll be eligible for some giveaways that James puts together, and you can also watch our Q&A series, which is very fun, and sometimes we drag Luke C into it, and that makes it even better. See you guys next time.